Hiring salespeople shouldn't feel like rolling dice, but for many companies, that's exactly what it can become. Despite all the tools, assessments, and interview strategies available today, some organizations, we might say many organizations, still rely heavily on gut instinct when making hiring decisions. And with me today is a regular guest, Troy Harrison, who says that 2 out of 3 sales hires fail. Troy,
Yep.
how's that possible?
It's not only possible, it's easy.
Okay, talk about it. What's
It's
going on?
yeah, but that is the truth. Two out of every three sales hires are gone before their 1 year anniversary, meaning they quit or get fired. And you and I find that to be kind of insane, and it is, but the biggest reason behind it, and you already named it, is gut instinct hires. Um, Business owners and managers pride themselves on their gut. They don't pride themselves on all those tools that you talked about. Tools, profiles, technology, that's not the sexy stuff to talk about. The sexy stuff to talk about is, oh, I know a good salesperson when I see him, and oh, they're a great cultural fit. They'll talk to anybody. They're a go-getter, and all that kind of stuff. Several years ago, the Wall Street Journal and Columbia University did a survey. Several years ago, the Wall Street Journal and Columbia University did a survey, and the purpose of this survey was to find out about hiring practices and what they considered the highly compensated professions in companies ranging from $1 million a year all the way up to the Fortune 100. And so they had researchers sit in on thousands of interviews. And by the way, highly compensated professions were basically sales and managers. And so they did this survey, and here's what they determined. 63% of all hiring decisions were made within the first 5 minutes of meeting the candidate. And there's a lot of insane statistics in sales and hiring, but that might be one of the biggest ones. Because what was happening was that the interviewer was making a gut instinct decision that said, either I want this person working for me or I don't want this person working for me. And the trajectory of the interview changed. If the gut instinct was positive 5 minutes in, they started asking softball questions that were designed to reinforce that decision. And if they reacted less so, they'd ask tougher knockout questions. Well, the thing of it is, the tougher knockout questions were ones they should have been asking everybody. And what they ended up with was almost 2/3 of the time, these interviewers were making a snap decision, and then the rest of the interview was a formality. Well, 63% of the decisions made within 5 minutes and 67% fail rate, those numbers are pretty similar. What we're seeing is that a lot of companies have established bad hiring practices and repeat them consistently. And, a good process will bring you consistent good results. A bad process will bring you consistent bad results. And that's what's happening here. So, what I try to teach owners and managers to do is get away from gut instinct, have a repeatable, multi-step hiring process. And it doesn't have to be multi-person. I still like a single point of accountability. But managers have to be able to remain emotionally detached. They have to have a format to either break down the resume or build it back up, depending on the truth of the answers. And they have to know how to do a good behavioral interviewing, and then they have to back that with a good profile assessment. And if you do all of that, you can raise that. You can actually reverse that number. You can get a 2 out of 3 win rate instead of a 2 out of 3 loss rate. Sales hiring is expensive, and bad sales hires are more expensive, and they can do damage to your brand. But I've seen a lot of instances of really inefficient hiring practices. I worked with one company recently, did a sales audit on them, and they had They had 11 people working in the company, and their interview process was basically get all 11 people in a room with the new candidate and just see if everybody liked them. And shockingly enough, they're not getting great sales results out of those new people because it's literally an interview for who do you want to sit down and have lunch with rather than who do you think can take our message out to the market and bring people through a sales process. And then, too, coupled with that, you have some of the things that we've talked about in past videos, like the waters and the changes in the buying environment. I see a lot of companies hiring salespeople for buying environments that don't exist anymore. A good example, 25 years ago, it was said that, man, a lot of business gets done on a golf course. Salespeople need to know how to play golf. Now that's not true. There's probably some business still happens on a golf course, but it is hard as hell to get people. I don't play golf, so this doesn't affect me at all. But it is hard as hell for salespeople to get people out onto a golf course, even people that used to be able to, because people are trying to get more done in their work hours. They're busier. And the idea of taking a half a day to a full day off to go play pasture pool is very difficult to say the least. Well, if you're hiring that kind of a salesperson, you shouldn't be surprised when they're going to struggle with today's buyers. I see a lot of companies that are hiring for environments where they acknowledge their buyers are on social media, their buyers on LinkedIn, and that is a primary mechanism for reaching those buyers. And then they turn around and hire salespeople who don't participate on LinkedIn, and they wonder why they're not getting the results. So it's really difficult to get the results that people are looking for out of the hiring if you're going about it the wrong way. And that's why I say that the navigator's chart, every layer builds on the other. You've got to hire based on your buying environment. You've got to hire based on your vessel and the metrics that you expect. If you expect a salesperson to do 8 appointments per week and you're hiring somebody who's never done more than 2, you may struggle with that. So everything has to fit together. But mishires on the crew are one of the most expensive mistakes anybody can make, especially in the small to medium-sized space that most of your readers occupy.
So, what do those watching do to make that shift? Their mindset is the gut instinct, bring in
Mm-hmm.
a person, see if the 11 people like them. That's doesn't sound very scientific. But
It's not.
what can they do to make it work? What are a couple of steps you can share so they can come away from this conversation and go, this is the path?
Okay, good question. Think of every interaction with a potential salesperson as a piece of data on a data stack. Don't think of them as an opportunity to get an emotional reaction from yourself. Think of it as I'm going to create a stack of data, and every piece of data that I acquire is designed to increase my chances of success with this hire. And I'll just tell you what my hire by the chart process is. Start out by building a large candidate pool. And that means advertising, it means video, it means social media. I want as many people knowing about and applying to my job as I can possibly get. Because it's very easy to say no to people who approach you. It's very difficult to say yes to people who never know you exist. And then screen the resume. And when I do a resume screen, I'm looking for 3 things. One, can they hold a job for 3 years out of the last 5 years? I don't want job jumpers. 2, do they have some sort of B2B sales experience? 3, do they have some sort of an accomplishment? Those 3 things win you admission to the hiring process. I don't even bother reading the resume. That's something you can scan for in 10 seconds. And that makes good use of your time. And the more, what I find is when Managers take longer reads of the resume. At first glance, they're looking for reasons to bring people in. And a lot of times it is, oh, they did something great 15 years ago, which may or may not be a representation of who they are now. Remember, you're hiring people right now, not who they were in 2015 or 2010. So then I moved to a quick 4-question phone screen, and the questions are less important than just asking questions to make the person make a sales case for themselves in a way that makes sense when they don't know that anybody's going to be calling. And then I will do a resume-focused interview, asking very detailed questions about claims on the resume, about what they did, how they did it, compensation, every possible detail about those jobs. Because salespeople do exaggerate on resumes. Salespeople even lie on the resumes. And if you are not carefully examining their claims, you become the victim of those lies. And I don't want to be the victim of those lies. Make the salesperson justify everything and make all the stories match up. And while you're at it, make sure that their past activity patterns mirror and match what you're looking for. Then as a reference check, yes, you should check business references. Have them give you business references. Former bosses are the gold standard. Former coworkers and customers are second. Nobody's third. And ask them questions about their job performance. I demand 2 positive references and no negatives. I will allow for 1 neutral reference, which is either I couldn't get a hold of the guy or somebody gives you name, rank, and serial number. Here's the employment dates, here's what they did. But I better have 2 positives and 1 negative knocks you out. Then a behavioral interview. A behavioral interview is designed to establish job fit by asking about past situations they may have been faced and asking them to tell you stories about those that tell you whether or not they are a fit for your job right now. And then finally, a profile assessment. Now, understand, we're stacking data on every one of these, and every one of these is an opportunity to knock somebody out. It's a lot of work, but if you do it, every piece of data increases your chances of success as long as you pay attention to it. And if you do that, you end up with a much higher percentage of good hires. And I mean, there are companies where their own sales hiring success rate is 1 out of 10. And it's because it's all gut feel. This takes gut feel out of it. So yeah, that's what I teach.
And saves a lot of time, money, headache in the future
Oh,
by
absolutely.
putting some work into the front end of the process.
Yeah,
Troy,
absolutely. The work you do now prevents work you have to redo later.
mhm. Troy, any final words of advice before we close? We can call it Troy's top takeaways.
My number 1 takeaway on hiring, leave your emotions at the door. Don't worry about whether or not you like this person. Okay, you don't want to dislike them, but try to remain neutral to the level that you're not sitting there going, oh, I want to be this guy's buddy. Because sales isn't about being buddies nowadays. Sales is about providing value to the customer, and that should be the lens that you're looking through. The second big takeaway, don't focus on industry experience as your primary hiring mechanism. You can teach this industry in 30 days or less. Focus on doing that and finding people with the right traits and skills that will support the success that you want in the industry. And then third, go back and watch The Waters and The Vessel on your channel here to understand the underpinnings of that. If you haven't watched those, you better watch those before you start implementing this.